All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday night. We are doing Thought Not Thursdays at the Game Hub. It is another modern event here. We're just waiting for all the players to get signed up and then for stands to come out, and then we will have everything running here. So, hello. Yes, hi. It is I. I guess I should say. For those that don't know, I am Bread. Normally Mike runs the streams, however, he has relinquished control for tonight to me, so I will be the one casting the games tonight. Nice to meet everybody. If you weren't here last week, then hello, hi. I'm going to mute myself as we wait for first standings to come out and we see who's at top table. All right, so round one pairings have just been posted, and now we are seeing who is going to be on table for round one. All right, so it looks like we have Spencer and Brandon. Probably should have waited to see which side they choose, but round one pairings are now up, and we have Spencer and Brandon. Spencer is, to my knowledge, still running the I think it's no, it's not Titan. Actually, it might be Titan. I know Spencer's on Frog. I don't know if he's still on the Demir list or if he's on the Grixis lists. I think he's just on the Demir lists. As for Brandon, I believe he's still playing Titan, but I think he was swapping around decks for a little bit there. So we'll see. But either way, should be a very fun match to call. As much as I don't like playing against Titan, I do think that watching the matchup unfold can be pretty fun as a spectator. I did choose the wrong sides, darn it. Brandon. And then this one here. And Spencer. Should be a pretty interesting matchup. Assuming that they have the early interaction, then I think Frog can get the win here, but we'll see what happens. When is my roommate back? He will be back. Great question. He will be back for August, so he can be in our local event called Chiller Pillar. This is awesome. Chiller Pillar is an event that I also miss that stinky guy. Chiller Pillar is an event that we run. I think I heard time. Chiller Pillar is an event that we run every year that has both modern and legacy events, as well as, I believe, standard on the Friday, and also has a lot of vendors, and it's going to be one of the largest events in the interior and possibly in BC this year. They just started. Never mind, I lied. No, click start. So, he will be back for that, and I hope to see everybody else in this chat here for that event as well. Right now, they're just shuffling up as they get ready for their round one, game one. Don't know who's going first here. Don't know if they rolled to see yet. Frog is definitely a very fun card to play with and around. I am also voting for Spencer here, but Caster doesn't. Wow. Okay. All right. So that's how they chose. Spencer's will be going first. As for their hands, it looks like we've got. For Brandon, it looks like he is running Primetime. He's got a Primetime in hand, 2 Green Suns, a land, a Boseiju, and I don't see any sort of things in his hand for... oh, no, yeah, there's a Vigor. Okay, so he's got 3 lands. One of them's a bounce land, one of them's a Boseiju. He did not have to fan for that, but thank you. 2 Green Suns, and then the Primetime in hand. Spencer starting this off, he's going to play a Blessed Mire, fetch, and go get a Watery Grave. It looks like untapped. Yep, untapped, so 17. And starting off, he will be Thought Seizing. So, we'll see the hand anyway. So we got the Primetime, the 2 Green Suns, and the Amulet of Vigor. Then he's got 3 lands. I feel like, yeah, it's going to be the Amulet of Vigor out of the hand. Passes to Brandon. Brandon playing a Teleria West tapped and passing the turn. Spencer taking his turn, playing a Darkslick Shores. I wasn't actually able to get a good look at his hand, but that's going to be a Brandon going down one. That's going to be a Orcish Bowmeister hitting the battlefield and hitting Brandon for 1. They are saying goodbye to somebody, but I don't know who. The Bowmeister coming down for 1. Brandon just plays land and passes back to Spencer. Spencer goes right to combat, coming in for 2. Life total's all tied up. And then passes back to Brandon. Brandon now plays the oh wow, why am I blanking on this? Oh my god. Crucible Cavern of Souls Naming Giants, so that's for the Primetime. Green Sun is getting countered. Just a straight up counterspell from the look of it. Spencer untaps. Plays the Demir Surveil land. Fatal Push off the top, and he decides to put it into the bin. In his hand right now, he's got a Spell Snare, another Fatal Push from the looks of it, coming in for 2. Goes down to 15. Passes to him. Let me try to get a good better look at his hand here. I think I see a... Yeah, I see Oculus in hand, I see Spell Snare, I see something else. Brandon plays a Kessig Wolf Run, and then attempts to Green Sun for 2. Looks like it's revolving. What does it get for 2 in this matchup? Tifa? Is that Tifa? Do I see him with a Tifa in that deck? Oh, it's the Minstrel, right? Yeah. It's the Amulet creature that you can get off of 2 now. Huh, I did not realize that this list was running the... I mean, I knew that the Titans were running Minstrel, but I did not know that Brandon got his hands on them. I think Minstrel is the get. Looks like he's getting the Grazer. Okay. Trigger on the stack. Looks like he's putting down that Grolturf to pick back up a land. Grolturf picks up the Wolf Run. Picks up the basic forest and passes. Back to Spencer. He's going to Fatal Push. Getting rid of it. Untap, draw. Draws a frog. The frog might be coming down this turn. Well. Looks like we got frogs. Frog hitting the battlefield. Brandon should be down to 13 now. Primetime, Teula, Forest, and another card in hand. Another Forest and a Boseiju from looks of... Oh, sorry. Boseiju, Forest, Primetime, and Teula. Cast the Teula. Trigger on the stack. Going into mill 4 card... Or sorry, Lumra. Yes, Lumra, not Teula. Where was I getting that one from? Anyway, mills 4. Looks like hitting 3 lands and not escape shift. All entering the battlefield tapped. Got a lot of triggers on the stack. Boy, howdy, can I not wait to call this. Bouncing back to Teleria West with the bounce land. And I was actually wrong, that's it. Where did I get Teula from? Either way. Passes over to Spencer. Spencer should be at 15. He did shock something in, apparently. Hello, River. I wonder if this list is playing Cecil's from Final Fantasy. This list being Spencer's list. I don't imagine that he is, but I think it might be fun. Oculus, Unearth, the Spell Snare, and then a Force of Negation. That is what, Force of Negation. That is what is in Spencer's hand. Spencer taking his time, thinking about what to do here. This matchup can be pretty tough. It can be very, very aggressive, too. Let's see if he ends up holding on to anything in his hand. I don't imagine he wants to discard anything down for the frog, but he is. Oh, yeah, that's right, because then you can just unearth the eyeball. Yep. Okay, so he is going to discard and put a 1/1 counter on the frog to discard the Oculus, and then with the Unearth in his hand, he's not going to cast it. It looks like he's going to wait until after combat. Forgetting that Lumra has reach. Yeah, Lumra's tough to get around. That is a big old bear. Unearth coming down. Eyeball on the battlefield. The bear is still bigger right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, the bear's a 7/7. Passing over. Upkeep trigger happens. I wish I got a better view of that before it went away. But he does end up putting a card onto the battlefield as a 2/2. Was the Bowmeister again? All right. Thank you so much. I was trying to zoom in, and my zoom was not right where it needed to be. Brandon drawing a Spelunking. See what he tries to do here. Yeah, you'd think he'd just jam the Titan right now, but I think he's wondering if he wants to play the Spelunking first and do it next turn. There's the Spelunking. Counterspells it. Delirium is now online. He did name Giant off of the souls, the Cavernous Souls. Brandon going right to combat. Going to combat with the bear. It is just an Enter the Battlefield trigger, so that bear is hard to get around. Is he just going to throw the other Bowmeister under the bear? I feel like that just has to be the play here. Wow, okay. A big block's coming down. So it looks like he's going to be doing a full trade. Leaving it untapped. 6 mana, going to be dropping that prime time. I assume the prime time. Yeah, it was one of the scrolls. Thank you, Boom Theory. There it is. Titan coming down. Titan trigger happening. Getting 2 lands. Let's see what 2 lands he decides to get. Gets an Otawara and a Simic bounce land. Doing a once over in his deck just to make sure, and it looks like he might be doing those 2 for the trigger. Ooh, okay. Swapping out the Otawara for a Mirror Pool, if I am to assume correctly. Yeah, Mirror Pool. Passing back to Spencer after that. Bouncing back, it looks like the Mirror Pool. Spencer's got to be drawing pretty hot here to get to where he needs to be. Got a graveyard full of stuff. Do an Oculus. Alright, so he can get through. That's goes to combat after giving the frog flying. Taking 2. 3 mana, and there's the Oculus coming down. Yeah, if that Titan gets copied, it's going to be a pretty big problem. Let's see what happens here. Alright, it looks like it's just going to be the Oculus coming down. Passes back to Brandon, and then we have the trigger on the stack. Looks at 2 cards. I didn't get to see the 2 cards since I was having a bit of an audio problem, but we've got 2/2 Manifest on the battlefield. Looks like Brandon's going right to combat. Possibly not. Urza Saga coming down for the land for turn. And yeah, alright, Brandon's going to combat. Attack trigger. Okay, goes to get another 2 Urza's lands. Okay. One Urza Saga. Never mind. Changing his mind. Yep, there it is. Decides to go get the Hanwar Battlements. Six is coming in at him. Those are tapped. He still has the Kessig Wolf Run online somewhere in those lands, if I remember. Yeah, right there, right at the very front. Okay, it looks like Spencer might be throwing the eyeball and the 2/2 at the prime time. I don't think Brandon can kill him off a Keswick Wolf run. It will definitely take his life total down quite far, but I don't think it's going to actually be able to get him there for a kill. Keswick Wolf Run is getting activated. Looks like it's getting activated for 1. And then making a copy of Titan. Titan copy hitting the battlefield. Spencer. Resolving the copy Titan ability from entering the battlefield through the mirror pool. Now I don't know if the mirror pool copy also gets the abilities, so the trample and something. I believe it just gets copied as just a normal prime time. But Brandon is going to be getting a Odawara and the Simic Bounce Land. And then Brandon looks like he puts the Odawara back into his hand. Jumping the frog and swinging in 4/2. Going down to 8. Draws a card. There's another frog. I don't know how Spencer's going to be able to get through this. This looks like it's going to be a tough one. I'm guessing the play is to probably drop another frog here. Land for turn. Going down. 2/13. And there's the frog, and then passing the turn. So Watery Grave enters untapped. Still has 2 mana floating, or 2 mana available, and 1 card in hand. 1 frog. 2 frogs on the battlefield now. 1 with a 1/1 counter, 1 without. And apparently Brandon drew hot here. There's a green sun in his hand. I have a feeling like Brandon just wins here for the most part. Land for turn, playing a forest. Uptick on the Urza Saga. Makes a construct with the Urza Saga. Filters 4 red through the Mycosynth Gardens to activate that. Alright, and it looks like that's on a copy. That's a copy of the Primetime. Looks like he made a copy of the Primetime once again, giving it haste and then coming in with 2 of them. Don't think Spencer was able to get through that, especially with all the mana available for Keswick Wolf Run. So now we're going into game 2 with Brandon up 1 game. I don't know how well this does in sideboard. I feel like Frog might have the harder time trying to get the game, considering how quickly Primetime can get through. But I'm not 100% sure on that. Primetime does have a lot of great sideboard cards for this matchup. All right. Going into game 2, we've got Spencer and Brandon sideboarding, just finishing up sideboarding right now. I don't know what Spencer or Brandon brought in, as they were a little bit more secretive on their sideboards. I don't know the sideboards personally, but I feel like for Titan, they actually have a better game 2 than Eyeball. Brandon getting out his playmat for round 2 that has his dogs on him. Beautiful dog. Spencer's doing a lot of sideboarding here. I don't know what the sideboard looks like. I don't know what Spencer's sideboard looks like for Demir Frog, but I don't really know. Like, I guess it's just more removal. I think you just have to go faster for a Titan. All right. Game 2. Starting player's hands. For Brandon, we've got Urza Saga Seiju, Mycosynth Gardens, Lotus Field, Amulet of Vigor, and Spelunking. So pretty great hand on that side. For Spencer, he's got a little bit too angled, but it looks like he's going to be given away anyway, going down to 6. Spencer going down to 6. Brandon taking the game, so Spencer's most likely going first here. Let's see if we can catch this hand a little bit better. Alright, so we got a Nile Spellbomb, Sing into Stupor, Counterspell, Frog. Do I see a Disruptor Flute in there? Land. Bottoming the Frog from the looks of it. Spencer starting us off. Stink into Stupor going down. Going down as the land. And Brandon starting off with a Urza's Saga and a Amulet of Vigor turn 1. We're going to see if he does the combo, and I have to explain it. It's not that hard to explain, but I have to kind of see how it happens again. Island coming down. 2 mana open. He's got Counterspell mana open, but I think he's... Yeah, okay, he's just passing the turn. Brandon drawing another Presagio. Urza's Saga going up to 2. Presagio coming down. Tapping 1 mana for the second Amulet of Vigor. And this time it's getting co-signed. And co-sign replicated to make sure it's dead and gone. Spencer playing Notawara. And there's the Harbinger of the Seas. Non-basic lands are now islands. I think... So here's the problem. I think this is what they're speaking about right now. Harbinger of the Seas may have just given Brandon the ability to make an infinite amount of 2/2s due to the new ruling. Beforehand, when you played something like a Blood Moon, you had to basically, it couldn't have any more counters, and it removed all the counters from it, and then you'd sack the land. Nowadays, it just stays at the amount, and it doesn't gain any more. So now it has that static ability of he can pay 2 and tap and make that 0/0 construct with 1/1 counters, or with amount of power and toughness equal to the amount of artifacts you control. So, I think Spencer might have just given Brandon an infinite amount of creatures. Anyway, coming in with the 2/2. Then plays the Spellbomb, passes back to Brandon. Plays an island. Not an island, but plays an island because of the Harbinger of the Seas. Coming in for another 2. I should be tracking life totals here. Passes back. 1 forest down. He now has access to 1 green mana. And it looks like he's playing the Splunking. It looks like he's playing the Splunking, and it looks like it is getting counterspelled, hard casted for the Force Negation. Passes back to Spencer. Spencer playing an island, swinging in for 2. Brandon's just got to draw hot here. He's got access to the 1 green, but he doesn't really have much else. Spencer coming in for another 2. Playing an island and passing. Plays an island and passes. Goes down to 10. 5 more turns, 5 more draws. Okay. Defense grid. And it looks like it's getting counterspelled. Alright, no defense grid. Spencer's been drawing a lot of islands, I'll tell you that much. Or at least a lot of lands. Passes back out to Brandon. Oh, there's a something. All right. Going down to 6. Plays another island and passes. Spencer's flooding out here. Finally breaking the Spellbomb to draw another card. Looks like he draws another land. That's a rough Rough draw. Passes back. Goes down to 4. Pays a bunch of mana to cast a Kaito. Bane of Nightmares. Smug Kaito. I do not like that art. But Kaito nonetheless now comes down, and it looks like he does do 0, so Surveil 2. Brandon at 2. And it looks like Spencer's going to take the game and turn it into a Game 3 situation. 17 minutes on the clock, so we still got quite a bit of time here. We're going to see what happens. Having the Harbinger on turn 2 is definitely a great play for Spencer. It gives him a whole lot of room. Brandon, I think, just has to bring in the... I don't remember, but I think this list does run dismembers in the sideboard. I feel like that's the only way that he's going to be able to get out of the situation early enough to come back. Because once Spencer has all the lands and can gain so much tempo, Brandon, I don't think, can get there. So I think he has the dismembers. I think he's just waiting to draw those. The one good thing about Harbinger of Seas for Brandon is that it does activate Teleria West. So he can transmute it to go get a 0 drop, whether it be Otawara or whatever else. I assume Otawara is probably going to be the play here. But it does turn on that line for Brandon. Brandon looks like he's starting us off. Cards in hand for Spencer looks like it's a couple lands, a Psychic Frog, and I believe a Murktide in there. Counterspell, a couple other things. Brandon starts us off with an Urza Saga. He's got a Vesuva, a Boseiju, a Aftermath Analyst, and a couple other cards. Spencer playing a Bloodstained Mire and passing. Brandon, turn 2. Taps 2. Play the Aftermath Analyst. Aftermath Analyst, milling 3. Looks like Spencer's going to be fetching here. Is he going to try to use that cosign in hand to counter the ability of the Aftermath Analyst, so that way he doesn't get another full graveyard? Watery Grave looks like he might be shocking that down to 17. He is. And he does cosign it. So no mill, countering the triggered ability. And then just passing back to Spencer. Oh, Spencer passes back to Brandon. Did he not have the extra land? Was he hoping to top deck it? Oh, that sucks. There's the Saga, gotta get sacked. Floating a land. Floating a mana. I assume going to get an Amulet of Vigor. Yes, hello. I am Bread. I am the one casting today, not Mike. Hello, Jennifer. Playing the Mycosynth Gardens and making it a copy of the Amulet of Vigor from the looks of it. So now he has 2 amulets on the battlefield. The Mycosynth Gardens is no longer a land. Can't do anything for tapping. Spencer top decks the Swamp. Does he play Frog here? Frog coming down. We got Frog action. Passes back over to Brandon. Brandon does have Summoner's Pact. Is that a Bojuka Bog? Is that early Bojuka Bog worth it? Yeah, it is a Bojuka Bog. Okay. So, Bojuka Bog, Gruul Turf, Summoner's Pact, Green Sun, and Vesuva. Spencer's hand still a little bit too far out to see. And it looks like Brandon is going to be playing the Gruul Turf. Gruul Turf trigger on the... never mind. Taps the Boseiju first. Green Sun for 1 is what I heard. I believe it's Green Sun for 0 here. Supposed to get in a Royal Grazer. Oh, Gruul Turf. Yeah, sorry. Gruul Turf tapped, does a bunch of things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, my bad. Goes to get it on a Royal Grazer. Puts in the Gruul Turf, bounces back to the Gruul Turf, does the tap and untap twice, so he adds a bunch more mana. Into a Summoner's Pact. Right now, for mana floating, he has 5 green and 3 red. And he's going to Summoner's Pact for what seems to be a Titan. See, I knew this was going to be hard to cast. Brandon now using 6 of the mana. Still using, or still having 1 of each floating. Plays Titan. Trigger on the stack. Goes, searches for 2 lands, goes to get another Gruul Turf. I think a Hand War Bannerblades is probably what's going to be getting here. Mirror Pool instead. Okay. First untap. Adds 3 mana. 3. Leaves them untapped. Bounce land trigger. Puts the Boseiju back into hand. 5 mana. Activate Mirror Pool on the Titan. Now has 2 Mirror Pools. Trigger on the stack. Mirror Pool is so good. This card, man. Mirror Pool. Ugh. Disgusting card. And with the Aftermath Analyst on the battlefield right now, he can just get it right back. It's gonna be tough for Spencer to get out of this. Yeah, there's the Hand War Battlements. Valakut gives them both haste. Goes to combat. Goes in for 12. Trigger. Gets the Kessig Wolf run. Gets that. Gets a bunch of bounce lands. Gets 2 bounce lands. And Brandon's going to take it. Going into 3 games, Amulet takes the win over Frog. It's a tough matchup. Amulet is just so consistent and can get there so cleanly. It's hard for them to just get through. It looks like they might have been the last people playing, so we might be going right into the next round here. But I'm going to pass it over to the store real quick while I go re-up on a drink. Be right back. All right. It looks like we got round 2 pairings going up. Table 1, we've got Ken and Gabe. Ooh, this is going to be a good matchup. All right. Let me put it back over to here. Reset all this. We're going into round 2. Game 1. Once somebody sits down, I'll be able to see what side's what. Ken right now on the Demir list as well. Gabe running usually Sam combo. Don't know if he's running the Yawgmoth part for this week. He sometimes does and sometimes doesn't, but it looks like he's just going to be possibly running normal Sam combo this time. I'll reset a timer here. All right. Ken on one side, Gabe on the other. This one is going to be a lot easier to call, I'll tell you that much. Titan can get a little bit freaky on how you call it. You can get lost pretty quickly when you don't notice the dice come out and the mana tracking counters matter. So this one should be a lot easier for me. Thank God. And with that, we got round 2 starting now. They're just shuffling up, choosing who'll go first. I don't know what kind of list Ken is running for Frog. I think it's going to be very similar to what Spencer was running previously in round 1. Let's see who goes first. Ken is going to be going first. All right, cards in hand. Ken, we've got a Fatal Push. Missed a couple of those. Gabe is going down to 6 cards, deciding not to keep his starting hand to 7. Didn't get to see what's in there, but apparently we're not good enough to keep it. Seven cards in hand. Going to be botting one of them. I see a Court of the Calling on one. Court of the Calling, land, Samwise, bottoming something I didn't get to see. But Ken will be starting us off. Sewers, Surveil. What does he surveil? He surveils a Fatal Push into the graveyard and passes over to Gabe. Gabe plays a fetch land, the Selesnya one, and passes. Going to go get a land. Ken plays a fetch. Bloodstrands. Gabe getting a Overgrown Tomb with the land that he originally played for his turn 1, entering the battlefield tapped. Ken now has 2 mana open. I don't see a frog in his hand. Does he want to... What does he want to do here? We got Fatal Push. We got Counterspell open. We've got a Lightning Bolt. Okay. Passes back to Gabe. Gabe plays the Razor's Verge Thicket and plays a Samwise. Ken going down to 19. To go get a Thundering Falls. Surveil trigger on the stack. Shuffling up, shuffling up, shuffling up, shuffling up. Off the top, he rips a Subtlety, and he puts it into the graveyard, and then he pushes the Samwise. Ken, starting his turn 3, passes right over to Gabe. Counterspell is open right now, so Gabe might be walking into something fierce here. Do I see a Skyclave Apparition in mainboard? Birthing Ritual, great card. Gonna get counterspelled, though. Good call on Ken's part. Passing back. Looks like he passes back to Gabe, not drawing anything hot for lands. I see a cat, I see a Skyclave Apparition, I see a forest that he just played. There's the cat. Cat ETB. We got -1 the other way around. Gabe going up 20, Ken going down to 18. Orcish Bowmeister, but in response, going to be courting for 1. But it looks like it got countered. Force of Negation. Yeah, so it gets countered. Ken plays a Raucous Theater and surveils the Psychic Frog into the graveyard. Goes to combat for 2. Gabe takes 2 and passes over to Gabe. Ken passes over to Gabe. 3 mana, we've got Skyclave Apparition, and it is going to be hitting the Baumeister. Exiled, and when Ken gets to destroy the Skyclave Apparition, or when it leaves the battlefield, he will get a 2/2. Gabe tries to resolve the Calling Ritual, or not Calling Ritual, the enchantment that makes the deck work, and Ken counterspells it. Bolts the Apparition, and now gets a 2/2. Combat for 1. Gabe going down to 15. Untap, draws a land and passes. Gabe is now hellbent from the looks of it. Got to be drawing something hot here, especially now with all the rituals gone. Goes to combat for 3. Goes down to 12. Passes to Gabe. Gabe draws another land. Go finds a Dryad Arbor. Dryad Arbor doesn't seem to be long for this world. I think I do see a Flame of Anor in hand. Looks like Ken is also fetching at the same time. Goes to get a Watery Grave. And Flame of Anor draws 2 cards instead of blasting that Dryad Arbor into smithereens. Untap and draw. Combat. Blocks there, takes 2. Killing the Bowmeister token, but also killing his 1/1. Ken playing a Steam Vents tapped. Gabe playing a Shifting Woodlands. It does enter the battlefield untapped from the looks of it. He does have a couple of plays here with that. He could get a Samwise, but there isn't really anything to do with Samwise. He can't activate any time, though. It's not just sorcery speed. Yeah. Passes back to Ken. Ken swinging in for 2. Goes down to 7. Passes back over to Gabe. Looks like he's turning the Woodlands into a Birthing Ritual. Escape with the Cling to Fate. To get rid of... Cling to Fate? Cling to Dust, pardon me. To get rid of whatever he's targeting in the graveyard. Getting rid of the Calling Ritual. Now it does nothing. Man, Cling to Dust. What a card. And then Cat. Looks like he counterspells it. Wow. Ken once again just raid bossing his way into this. Gabe going down to 5. Okay. Top deck Chord is good. If Ken doesn't have any interaction in his hand, which it doesn't look like he does, it looks like a Chord could passes back. Okay. Combat for 2. Chords for 4. It looks like this is before damage. So let's put Gabe back up to 5 here. For 4. What does this deck run that's 4 or more? Is he just getting Yawgmoth? No, maybe not Yawgmoth. Yawgmoth, hey, I was right. Okay. Yawgmoth. puts it in front of the 2/2, but it looks like it is getting pushed. Yeah, fetch, go get a land, then goes to push. Goes down 2/3. And then lightning bolts Gabe for death. And Gabe is dead. We now have Ken going up a match in this best of 3 game. Ken once again proving that he is a raid boss. It's hard. It's hard for the Samwise deck to get off the ground with such early interaction that Ken had, especially with the main deck Cling to Dusts. For Gabe's deck, that is like, it's impossible for Gabe to get around that because of those Cling to Dusts. If Ken can have one of those, or one of those in hand, or one of those in the graveyard to escape out, it's very, very likely that Ken is going to be getting the win, because it is hard, almost impossible to get through that without having any sort of... You don't even really run anything for countering that, because a lot of the toolbox that you have outside of... I don't even know if Gabe Bliss runs the Voice of Victory, but if it does, that'll be the only real way to do it. And even then, you'd have to do it all in one turn, because then it just passes back to Ken, and then Ken can just do it on his turn. It's a tough matchup to have for Gabe. As someone that has a very limited amount of Samwise combo knowledge, it's tough. And I don't know if running the Yawgmoths in the main board is the play to get to help, because it's just, I think it's just too slow for 4 mana. I mean, sometimes you get there, but it feels like, especially in this kind of, I want to say, I mean, I'll say day and age, but just with the way that Modern's going, a turn 4 Yawgmoth just does not hit as much as it used to, even just a year ago. I don't know if the main board Yawgmoths are going to be staying. I think he might side them out. But either way, we're going to be going into game 2 with Ken up 1 game. Assuming Gabe takes the play here, let us see what happens. All right, game 2, we've got our fresh start opening of hands. Gabe looks like he's going to be shuffling back in and mulliganing down to 6. Ken in his hand has a Spell Snare, a Darkslick Shores, an Island, a Frog, a Counterspell, and a Subtlety. So Subtlety, Frog, Counterspell, land. Gabe going into his next hand. We've got Young Wolf, Court of the Calling, land, Goose, and a Grist? Yeah, and he is bonding one of the chords. Gabe starting us off, I assume, with the turn 1 Silly Goose. Is Gabe a Silly Goose? Gabe is a Silly Goose. We've got a turn 1 Goose coming down. When it enters the battlefield, it makes food. Tap, sack food, add 1 mana, any color. Ken going to his turn 2, or turn 1. He plays Darkslick Shores and pass back to Gabe. Overgrown Tomb, shocked in. And there is the Grist the Hunger Tide, but it is getting... Ooh. Grist is a creature on the stack. Yes, with no map power, with less than 2 toughness or power. Skirn Scolding counters it. And we have a Frog coming down on Ken. That was a pretty big blowout for Gabe there. Getting rid of one of the foods, which is very important for the deck. And kind of setting him back a turn with not a whole lot left in hand. Well, there we go. I guess he did just top deck another goose, so we got a food. One is available. He does have Court in hand, but there's only one way to get it out right now, which is to convoke for 0. Ken, going into his turn 3, plays a land, plays a Misty Rainforest, passes back over to Gabe. Gabe draws for turn, draws a Marsh Flats. He's got a Calling Ritual in hand still and a Court of Calling. You can hold on to it, Gabe. You don't have to do it. It's not at sorcery. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay. Calling Ritual gets spell snared. And now he has the ability to chord for 1 on the stack. Passes back over to Ken. Ken goes in for the fetch. I see a Nihil Spellbomb. Nihil Spellbomb. Looks like he is getting a Undercity Sewers to Surveil 1. Surveil trigger on the stack. Looks at the top, wants to keep it. Draws for turn. Don't get to see what he drew. Looks like it was a land. Plays Thundering Falls to Surveil 1 more time. Keeps on top. Gabe's in pretty good position here. Gabe fetching for a Temple Garden tapped, going down to 16. Ken passing over to him. Draws another land for the turn, seems like. Oh, there's a Shifting Woodlands. Shifting Woodlands into battlefield untapped. What does Gabe want to do here? Passes back over to Ken. Okay. Plays a fetch land. Ken then decides to go to combat and swing in for 1. Hello, Nick. Thank you for tuning in. Blocks with the Young Wolf. The Young Wolf comes back as a 2/2. End of turn. Chords for 2. Ken counterspells it. And we are going back to Gabe. Walla Walla. Wallaroots coming down. Puts a -1 counter on it. Shifting Woodlands becomes a Calling Ritual. Without the Cling to Dust, it's gotta happen. Alright, go stand step. Looks at the top 7 cards of the library. Let's see if Gabe finds anything that he wants to hit. Ken, in the meantime, just fetching in for a Rakdos Surveil Land. Gets the cat. We're going up and down. I believe Ken should now be at 17. There we go. See? Look at my mind. Now with the cat on the battlefield, Ken could draw some sort of removal, but we'll see what happens here. Spellbomb. There it is. Spellbomb's pretty good. He's going to get rid of his graveyard right now. Three lands, jumping the frog. Frog's coming over. He could block with one of the goose. Decides to block with one of the goose. Puts a 1/1 counter on it by discarding what looks to be a spell snare and passes back over to Gabe. Swings in for 3. Ken goes to 14. Then we got Young Wolf number 2. Snapcaster Mage getting a counterspell from the looks of it. K command in hand from the looks of it. Wow, I really wish Ken would slow down his consistent card flicking. Anyway, Ken coming in with a Flying Frog, goes in for 2, draws a card off the top, plays a Polluted Delta. We've got Spell Snare, K command, and random third card, Subtlety. Pass over to Gabe. Gabe, on his turn, tries to play a creature from looks of it and passes back when it becomes unresolved. It was a Blood Artist. Ken fetching down to 13. Goes to get a unshocked Steam Vents, staying untapped. Smart play considering that it is in Gabe's untapped or in end step, so Ken can just untap and not have to do anything. Drew a looks to be Lightning Bolt. Still got Subtlety, still got K command in hand. Does he want to jump the frog? Just goes right to combat. Going in with the Snapcaster Mage and the frog. Snapcaster Mage famously a 1/2. 2/1. Holy crap, I cannot remember cards. Blocks and bolts the Walla. 2/1 does trade with the cat and passes back over to Gabe. Passes back over to Gabe. Draws a card. Still has a Young Wolf on the battlefield. Goes in 4/2 with the Young Wolf. Gabe going down to 13, drawing the card off of the frog and passing back over. Gabe plays a Sam. Swings in for 2. Plays a Snapcaster Mage. Blocks that. Targeted the K command and plays the K command. Getting rid of that. Didn't see what else he did with it, but K command, what a card. Evening up this game with the swinging with the frog and pass it back. Carrion Feeder gets Subtletied, goes back on top. Passes back over to Ken. Ken, game in hand. Discard 6 and goes in. Ken takes it by discarding his hand. Puts all those counters, 6/1/1 counters, on the Psychic Frog when it already had another counter on it. Swings in for exactly 11 and kills Gabe with exact amount of damage. Ken once again proving that he is the raid boss. This list that he's playing with the frog, the Grixis list, I really like this Grixis list as compared to the Demir list that Spencer was running in the previous games. This one just has so much more interaction and is a lot more, I think, resilient in comparison to the eyeball lists. Frog is just such a good card. It's hard to get rid of the frog once it hits the battlefield without direct removal. And even then, unless you get through their interaction suites of Force Negations or whatever else, it's a tough match to play against. And especially with Samwise combo being fairly easy to get rid of when it comes to countering stuff like the culling rituals or the birthing rituals and the any of the other combo pieces. Really, it can just be a tough one to beat. Well, with that, round 3 top table is done. While we wait for other players, I'm going to pass it back over to the store. you guys are going to get a good look at the store, and I will be right back. All right, so we are still waiting for round 2 to be over, so we can go into round 3 here, and we can see who will be playing at the top table. Just wanted to touch base with y'all and say hello, hi. We're still waiting for 2 matches to be done playing. Right now for standings, we'll have to wait for this round to come out and over. But right now we got Ken and Andrew as the 2 O's confirmed. Lucas is now 1-1. So we will see. It'll most likely end up being Snooch and Ken at the top table. But we'll see what happens. All right, it looks like we have the round 3 pairing up, and at top table we are going to be seeing Jordan Reed and Andrew Snoochins, also known as Snooch, coming in. Snooch right now. Let me translate here. All right, so right now we've got Snooch and Jordan. Snooch is playing Esper Control, to my knowledge, with the Cecils and a couple of the other cards. All right, so Jordan, I don't know what Jordan's list is running right now. We will see what happens there. Snooch, however, is running Esper Control, Cecils and Frogs, and the whole 9 yards. I don't know the exact list of either of them, but I guess we'll call it as we see it as they draw their cards and play their cards. And with round 3 starting, we now have timer online. We're ready to go with 50 minutes on the clock. High roll going down. We've got a tie first. And it looks like Jordan's going to be taking the play here. Drawing a fresh hand here, and it looks like we've got a Cecil, a land, 2 lands, a Boggart Trawler, and another card on there. Jordan got his hand too. Looks like we've got Tune to the Aether, land. Jordan's going to be starting us off with a Scalding Tarn and passing over to Snooch. Snooch. Playing a Flood of Strands. Gonna go get a Watery Grave untapped. So is Jordan here. And there's a Cecil turn 1 dropping down. Then we also got the Thundering Falls with the Surreal. Jordan surveils and puts the Fable of the Mirror Breaker into the graveyard. Draws for turn. Looks like he draws a Spell Snare and then passes back over Snooch. Snooch drawing for turn. Didn't see what he drew. Playing a Bleached Bone Verge. Go in for some damage there. 15-17. Overlord Impended with 4 or 5 counters on it. Jordan's going to tune the Ether. Makes 2 energy to my knowledge. And draws a card. Five counters, and then we go through the whole thing here. Takes Ketramos, puts into hand, mills 4 cards, puts all 3 of those into the graveyard, and then puts Ketramos back into his hand. Goes over to end step, removes a counter from the Overlord, and passes over to Jordan. Another Surveil land, getting a black and blue. That'd be an white and blue. That would be a Meticulous Archive. Snooch cutting Jordan. Jordan's, fetch goes down to 16. Puts a Arena of Glory into the battlefield. Passes back over to Snooch. Snooch is untapping. Plays in Marsh Flats, goes to combat. Snooch goes down to 13. Jordan goes down to 14. Goes and fetches to get a swamp. Goes to get a plains instead. Attempts to play the Ketramose. Like it's getting denied. Flare of Denial? Flare of Denial. The river in Egypt. The Nile. Shocks in a Steam Vents. 4 mana. Plays Flage and gets rid of Cecil. 2, 3. Goes up to 15. Land for turn. Boggart Troller. Exile the graveyard. Nice. Moves to end step and removes a counter from the Overlord. Another Flage, getting rid of the Boggart Trawler. To 11. Jordan going up to 18. All right, so he's gonna get he's gonna use the Ephemerate in his hand by fetching for a plains, making the Boggart Trawler untargetable because it is not there anymore. At least targets it and then bounces it, so that way he cannot get rid of it. It stays onto the battlefield, and when it re-enters, it gets rid of the other Flage. He then plays the Ketramose and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan on his turn, looking at his exile. Pest Control? Sorry, Solitude. That is a Solitude. And that Solitude is getting rid of Ketramose, exiling it and gaining Snooch 4 life. Going up to 15. Jordan is now down to 15. Snooch going down to 13 and getting a Solitude of his own. Base at 15 because it gets rid of the other Solitude, and then Boggart Trawler goes in for the damage. We now pass back to Jordan, who plays an Arid Mesa and then a Flames of Anor, getting rid of the big creature, getting rid of the Overlord. He then passes over to Snooch, and Snooch goes in. We now have Jordan down to 9. And we have Snooch going up to 16. Jordan now fetches, going down to 18, and gets a Boros land that does the Surveil. That would be a Elegant Parlor. Looks at the top card. Decides to keep it on top and draws. Looks like it was a Thundertrap Trainer. Thundertrap Trainer comes up off-springed. 2 triggers, looks at the top 4 cards. Top 4? Top 5? Top 4 cards. What does he take on the first one? The first go around he gets Wrath of the Skies. Second go around gets a Flame. Snooch surveilling while Jordan is doing all of that. Decides to put a failed push into the graveyard from the top and draws for turn. Combat for 6. Goes down to 5. Snooch is now it. 19 from the looks of it. 18. Pardon me. After combat, he plays a Relic of Progenitus and passes the turn back over to Jordan. Jordan, for his turn, plays the Flame of Anor and decides. Gets rid of the Solitude and then draws 2 cards with the Flame of Anor. Plays a land for turn. He's got a Snapcaster in hand, a Galvanic Discharge, Wrath of the Skies is still good to go, and 2 mystery cards to my knowledge here. Let me see if I can get a better zoom in on that. Spell Snare is one of them. And it looks like another Flare of Denial. Cracks Relic of Progenitus to draw a card. Exiling his graveyard, Jordan's graveyard being. Cecil comes down. And then impends an Overlord as well. In response, it gets Flare Denied, countered. Snooch ships it back over to Jordan. Jordan takes a damage from a fetch, going down to 4. Goes to go get a Hollowed Fountain? Hollowed Fountain? Hollowed Fountain. Untap. Draws for turn. Gets rid of it with the Prismatic Ending from the looks of it. Yeah, Prismatic Ending gets rid of it. And passes back over to Snooch. Snooch top decking another Cecil. The man you cannot keep down. Galvanic Discharge hitting the Cecil to make sure it is dead. 3 of the 4 Cecils in Snooch's deck in the graveyard. He's going to be top decking another one. I bet Snooch going down to 16. Prismatic Ending on the Thundertrap Trainer. Attune to the Aether, gaining another 2 energy and drawing a card, then shipping it back over to Snooch. Snooch tapping a bunch of mana. Overlord Hardcast. Gonna get Snapcaster Maged with the Flare Denial. And then Snooch looks like he pushes it. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. Plays a Arena of Glory and passes back over to Snooch. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays land and passes. Snooch draws a card. Looks like he's happy about it, somewhat. Frog. It is frog time, but frog time is no longer here as it is getting spell snared. No frogs. No frogs in this battlefield. Looks like Jordan is going down to 3. Another fetch coming down. Sorry, with another fetch going to the graveyard. Plays a tap land and passes back over to Snooch. Liquor Wisp coming down from Snooch. Bouncing a Meticulous Archive comes back in, and then we've got a Surveil, keeps on top, passes back over to Jordan. Jordan's got to get rid of it. Wrath of the Skies tapped all out, makes a bunch of energy. 10 energy, uses I think 3 of it to get a Flicker Wisp done. Snooch draws a card and passes. Jordan passing back to Snooch. Snooch playing a Relic of Progenitus. Then passes back over to Jordan. Jordan passes over to Snooch. Snooch, on his end step, tells Jordan to exile a card. Untaps and draws, plays a land. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan, Flame of Norse, to draw 2 cards. Jordan on his turn taps. Nope, sorry, that was for the Flame of Norse. Now he actually goes to his turn. Untaps. Passes back over to Snooch, tells him to exile a card from his graveyard. Snooch plays a land. Exiles his graveyard and draws a card. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays land and passes. Snooch on his end step plays Ophelia. Ophelia gets bolted. Well, discharged. Jordan now has 11 energy counters. Pass back over to Jordan. Jordan passes back over to Snooch. End step, got another dog coming down. Solitude on the dog. Solitude gets Solitude. Does Snooch's Solitude resolve? It does. Jordan goes up to 6. And Snooch cracks a fetch. Definitely one of the grindier matchups right now. Yeah, it's going quite fast. It's a bit hard to keep up, but I think it's just because of the way the matchup is so grindy, and the fact that Jordan and Snooch have, been playing together for years, and the fact that they know each other's decks quite well, usually. Snooch goes to combat with the Solitude. Jordan flashes in a Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage targets a card. Snooch gets rid of the... Looks like it targeted the Galvanic Discharge. Snooch plays a removal spell. And then they... Wow, sorry, I'm getting lost here. Solitude gets Galvanic Discharged, and then combat ends with nothing. Second main, Snooch plays a Flicker Wisp, and then bounces the land, the Meticulous Archive, so that way they can Snooch can surveil. And he looks like he kept it on top with the surveil. Jordan fetching in Snooch's end step. Untaps. Sorry about that, Bonnie. I wish I could tell them to slow down, but I sadly do not have the ability to communicate that to them. I'm just going to try my best to do as much shoutcasting, probably on the end step as possible. Looks like it gets Prismatic Endinged, the creature, the Flicker Wisp. Jordan passes back over to Snooch. Jordan going down to 4. Marsh Fight's coming down. Snooch passing back over to Jordan. Jordan drawing for turn. Jordan's got a pretty stacked hand right now. Flage gets resolved. 1, 2, 3. Goes down to 14. Snooch does. Flage gets escaped from Jordan's graveyard. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Goes into combat and another ETB. Snooch then goes down to 3, and it looks like he does nothing, and Flage ends the game with Jordan winning. Just like that. It is a bit hard to keep up, and I don't blame you, Bonnie. Especially with just how they play. They're so used to playing that they just kind of go off of, what they know. they don't really slow down too much for the camera, which is fine. I can keep up pretty well, but I'm going to try my best to try to commentate as best I can with everything else that is going on the table. At that end of the turn there, or at the end of the game there, what Jordan did was he played Flage. Flage entered the battlefield, dealt 3 damage to Snooch, gained Jordan 3 life, went to the graveyard. Jordan then escaped the Flage with 4 cards out of the graveyard, but he also used the 2 mana that the activated ability of Arena of Glory gives to give it haste. So it enters, it stays on the battlefield, does another 3 damage to Snooch, gains Jordan another 3 life, and then Jordan goes to combat, swings with it to deal another 9 damage, gaining another 3 life, and dealing 3 more damage to Snooch. Then, he also, in his second main, resolved a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, making a 2/2 Goblin Shaman that can attack and gain a treasure. And then Snooch decided to go to his turn. After Jordan passed, Snooch went to his turn, drew land, and then Snooch decided to concede the game to Jordan. So needless to say, although it was a grindy one, although that match did go on for quite a long time. Honestly, if they were playing a slower match, we probably would have. If they were playing slower, we probably would have seen that match go into, 10 minutes left on the clock. But the fact that Snooch and Jordan are quick players do mean that these grindy matchups are a little bit easier to keep track of in the sense of time. We're not going to be going into, times and rounds. We are going to be able to see other games occur faster due to them being faster players. It just means that I got to try to keep up as best as I can. Can't say I blame them. Yeah, can't say I blame him either. He is, after Jordan's board, unless he drew something like Wrath of the Skies, it's tough for Snooch to get by. As for sideboarding, it doesn't look like they did a whole lot of sideboarding themselves, so we'll see what happens here. Snooch looks like he's starting us off with a Polluted Delta and passing the turn to Jordan. I could be wrong here. Never mind, he's going to fetch and shock for a... What card is he getting here? Well, he's searching. Let's see if I can get the hand. Can't do that. Alright, so he gets an untapped Hollowed Fountain. And plays a Relic of Progenitus. Jordan goes to his turn, draws a card, gets a Scalding Tarn, and it looks like he passes back over to Snooch. Alright, plays a Plains and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan, on Snooch's end step, goes and fetches with the Scalding Tarn. What is he going to be getting here? In Snooch's hand, it looks like he has an Ashiok, the War of the Spark Ashiok, Bargurt Trawler, 2 other cards that I can't see. Jordan goes to get a Thundering Falls, Surveilling 1 in Snooch's end step. Looks at the top and bins a Flage. Untap. Draws another land. Plays a Scalding Tarn and passes back over to Snooch. Snooch, on Jordan's end step, casts a Felia. Jordan then Galvanic discharges the dog, the Felia, and then it goes right back to Snooch. Snooch plays the Boggart Trawler as a land, going down to 14, to play Ashiok. Ashiok reads, that spells and abilities your opponent control cannot cause the controller to search the libraries, effectively shutting off fetches. And you can downtick 1 to have target player mill 4 cards, and then exile their graveyard. Downtick on resolution, getting rid of The mill exiles another flage, total of 2 flages, and then exiles the graveyard. Snooch definitely putting himself in a very commanding position here. Jordan plays a land, and 3 mana gets rid of the Ashiok. Jordan does have another flage in hand. Jordan then passes back to Snooch. Snooch plays a Psychic Frog and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. The Ghost Vacuum off the top. Plays a Arid Mesa. Taps 2. Plays a Thundertrap Trainer. Top 3. Looks like he's only getting a discharge from that. Saw 2 lands and the Solitude. Jordan has 1 energy. Passes back over to Snooch. Snooch plays an Arid Mesa. Pushes the Thundertrap Trainer. Goes to combat, swings in with the dog. Celestial Flare coming down. That's some spicy tech. Celestial Purge, pardon me. Exile target black or red permanent. Gets rid of the frog, and then it looks like Snooch is passing back over. Hello, Mikey. Hello, Mike. Effectively my boss. Thank you for stopping by the chat. Thank you for having the Game Hub. Thank you so much for letting me do this. Love you dearly. Kiss, kiss, mwah. Alright, Snooch pass over to Jordan. Jordan plays a land for a turn. Jordan plays a Fable. Makes a 2/2 Goblin Shaman that attacks and makes treasure, and then plays the Ghost Vacuum. Jordan then passes over to Snooch, who plays the dog. Dog gets Galvanic discharged. And Jordan goes down to 14. Snooch going down to 13. Snooch exiling a card from Jordan's graveyard and also doing a Shadowy Backstreet, so that way he can Surveil on Jordan's end step. Let's see what happens. Card goes to the graveyard. What card was it? Thank you, Bonnie B, for the cheers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 whole bits cheered. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Really appreciate the help with the stream. Really appreciate all the cheers. Looks like Snooch is just going to be shipping it back over. The card that was exiled, oh, he just picked up the graveyard. It was a Polluted Delta. That is what went into the graveyard. Ghost Vacuum gets the dog out of the graveyard. Jordan has a Flage in his hand. Flage and Arena of Glory from the looks of it. Gonna discard the Flage and the Arena of Glory to draw 2 cards off of the Fable of the Mirror Breaker, going to 2. Combat. Snooch goes down to 11. Jordan makes a treasure. Snooch then goes to his turn and draws for turn. Frog coming down once again. Looks like this one might be sticking around a little bit longer. Jordan going down to 13. I already had him at 13. Don't know where he gained life. Whoopsie, whatever. Snooch serenading us. Jordan goes to get a Elegant Parlor. Surveil 1 with Boros. Jordan looks to exile cards from Snooch's graveyard, but decides instead Snooch jumps the frog, so that way he can get rid of even more cards. Sounds like we are distracting you. Not really. I can do this. Trust me. I got this. You don't have to worry about distracting me. I can commentate and also do all this. Jordan on his turn plays a Thundertrap trainer. It looks like he's trying to... Yeah. Okay, so it is now being offspringed as well. The Fable the Mirror Breaker flips over into the reflections of Kiki Jiki. Jordan has 2 Thundertrap trainers. With those triggers on the stack, Snooch Solitudes the reflections of Kiki Jiki. Good call. He then ephemerates the Solitude, getting rid of the 2/2. Jordan is now at 18. Snooch still 11. Now has a Solitude on the board. Gets a prismatic ending with the first Thundertrap trainer. Remember, all that was done on the Thundertrap trainer's triggers on the stack. He gets a Flame of Honor and a Thundertrap trainer. Passes back over to Snooch after getting rid of the frog with the prismatic ending. Snooch goes to combat. Snooch doesn't go to combat. It's a tough swing to happen because I don't know what's in his hand. Effectively, the swing doesn't really do much for Jordan. Okay, so Snooch swings in with the Solitude, connects, and then passes back over to Jordan. Jordan has a very commanding lead right now, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, Flame of Honor gets rid of the Solitude. Rack to get another Surveil. The Flame of Honor also drew cards from the looks of it. Jordan goes to combat, swings in for 2. Keeps that on top, and then goes to... Jordan passes, goes to Snooch's turn. He surveils a Emperor Bones and then plays an Emperor Bones in his first main. And it looks like Snooch is scooping it up due to Jordan having Flage next turn. And Jordan takes it in 2. Very close games for what it's worth. Snooch almost had him in game 1, and then game 2 was pretty back and forth with how it happened, how it played out. Yeah, great plays by both players here. Really close games both times. Incredibly hard to call, but you know what? We love those games that can just just go. And again, because of how fast they are, normally this matchup would be a lot grindier. You normally see these players go to time quite frequently, but the fact that they're, taking the time to, they're not taking their time to play it out on stream does kind of show you what high level Magic looks like off of stream, Something that can be so quick and so happenstance, it's something that not everybody can keep up with on stream or even talk about it, but when you're actually in the moment playing, it can almost feel like all of these synapses in your brain just balancing off, going boom, 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 boom. And it's all because both Snooch and Jordan are very, very accomplished players in our scene who have been playing for a very, very, very long time. Snooch especially, Jordan especially, but yeah. Congratulations to Jordan for winning his round 3 games. I need another drink as I am parched, so I'm going to pass it back over to the store view, and I will see you guys for round 4. All right. Round 4 pairings are up for our last round in the event. Top table is going to be Ken Darlington and Jordan Reed. Jordan's going to be staying at that table. And we got Ken coming in there as well. Now, this is a matchup that's going to be pretty fun to watch, I think. Both playing somewhat similar decks. Ken's playing Frog, again, kind of similar to what Snooch was playing previously. The difference is that this list is not playing Cecil's, or any of the Ketchermos list stuff, or anything like that. This is what we saw in round 2. Jordan, just like we saw in round 3, playing the same deck. Raid boss is still here, yeah. Let's see if Jordan can take down the raid boss for one night and one night only. And with that, our timer started. I do think that out of all of the players that we have at our store, Snooch, Jordan, and I mean, really, anybody could take down Ken, but especially back when Ken was running the Boros list, he was a real and true raid boss. That man did not stop for anything. At the table, they are discussing the natural predators of the capybara. As we know, that is thrilling magic. Looks like Ken is keeping. He's got land, counterspell, some forms of counterspells, and a creature. Ken starting us off, he's going to fetch that Scalding Tarn and pass over to Jordan. Jordan plays a Scalding Tarn of his own, and Ken fetches to go get an Undercity Sewers. I assume when Jordan goes to pass back to Ken for Ken's turn 2. So that way he can surveil and then untap and then do the stuff. Bolt goes into the graveyard, untap, draw, gets a Spell Snare, plays a land and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan fetches in Ken's end step. We got both of them at 19. Ken's hand looks to be Fatal Push, Spell Snare, Force of Negation, and then random card. Jordan surveils a land into the graveyard and then starts his turn. Plays a Arid Mesa and passes back over to Ken. Ken pans his hand right when I look away. Flame of Anor is another card in there. Counterspell and 2 Force of Negations from the look of it. Draws a tomato and plays the tomato. Jordan fetches, going down to 18. Thundering Falls, the is it or the blue-red land. So he's going to be surveilling again. Ken cuts his deck and looks at the top card. He puts it into the graveyard and draws for turn. Plays a Plains into a Mirror Breaker. Or Fable of the Mirror Breaker. But Ken, Force of Negations, and then Jordan passes over to Ken. Ken goes to combat, attacks with the Tameo, and makes a clue for 0 damage. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan starting his turn. Plays an Arid Mesa and passes back over to Ken. Ken cracks the clue to draw a card on Jordan's end step, and then Ken starts his turn. Plays a Misty Rainforest and attacks with the Tomato. Tameo, 0-3, but when it attacks, it creates a clue. Jordan fetches after Ken goes to combat, and I assume goes to pass his turn. Gets an Elegant Parlor to surveil one more time. Keeps it on top and draws. Looks to be a Thundertrap Trainer that he drew. 2 mana, gonna play that Thundertrap Trainer. Spell Snare, coming down from Ken, countering that. Spell Snare, counter target spell. If spell's converted mana cost is 2 on the dime. Can't be any more, can't be any less. Good card, I've heard. Especially right now in Modern. That card gets rid of Frog, that gets rid of the Thundertrap Trainers. It gets rid of so much. Looks like we're going into a counterspell war. Jordan's going to be hard casting a Flare of Denial. And Ken is going to counterspell that. So, with the Thundertrap Trainer on the stack, we've got a Spell Snare coming down from Ken. Jordan responds with a Flare of Denial. And then Ken responds with just a simple counterspell, countering the counter. Jordan with nothing on board now. Ken has got a lot of tempo. Goes to combat. Makes a clue and passes back over to Jordan. We've got now 2 clues on Ken's side of the board. Jordan plays a land. The control deck, both control decks, Ken has more cards in hand, but Jordan has more lands on the battlefield. End step plays, oh god, that's a Lord of the Rings card that I do not know. Sauron's Ransom. Choose an opponent, look at the top 4 cards of your library, separate them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. So, fact or fiction from the looks of it, but it looks like it got counterspelled from a Snapcaster Mage. Ken, attacking with Tamiyo, now has 3 clues. Ken in his second main, figuring out what he wants to do. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan goes to combat for 2. Ken going down to 17. Fetches down to 16. I assume on Jordan passing. He gets 8 Thundering Falls. Is it Surveil Land, looking at the top card of the library and putting it into the graveyard, or keeping it on top? After he shuffles up here, it looks like he's going to look at the top card, and he bins it. He then uses another 2 mana to crack a clue. In response, Jordan casts Flame of Anor, dealing 3 damage to the Tamiyo, and then drawing 2 cards, because he controls a wizard. On the end step, it looks like he used Fatal Push to get rid of the Snapcaster Mage. Ken, on his turn, plays a land and passes back over to Jordan. Flage coming down. Top deck in the Flage. Flage happens. Ken should be at 12 or 13. I actually don't know how much I pressed there. Should have been 3 damage. I don't know if I had him at 15 or 16. But after the Flage comes down, Jordan passes. Ken plays a Raucous Theater. Keeps it on top. Looks like he also cracked a clue in Jordan's end step. Cling to Dust the Flage. There's the... I don't know if it's the one of or how many he has in main board, but that Cling to Dust is doing work. I believe he also gains some life, but I could not say for sure. Jordan passes back over to Ken, so he draws 2 in his end step. Flame of Anor from Jordan to draw 2 cards as well. Okay, so now all the clues are gone. Now Ken has a handful of cards. Jordan has another handful of cards. 2 mana coming down. Frog hits the battlefield. No energy from Jordan. Discards 2 cards. So that way the frog lives. Ken is at 13. Not 12. I had him at the wrong life total. Wrath of the Skies. X equals 0. Counterspell coming down on that instead. Jordan had the resource lead there originally, but now Ken has just taken control of the board. After a couple of turns of not drawing much, Ken was able to just get back into the game by drawing so many cards and getting so much stuff back into his hand, so many cards back into his hand. That's a bit tough. Do it again. Solitude pitching the Wrath of the Skies. Finally getting rid of that frog. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 16. Cross for turn. Plays a Polluted Delta. Passes over to Jordan. Plays a land. Plays a Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I think Ken has to counter this. There's just too much here. Fetches down to 15. Goes gets a basic swamp. Plays a Snapcaster Mage. Targets Flame of Anor in his own graveyard. Decides to draw 2. Before the Fable resolves, so he draws 2 cards. And counterspells. Jordan goes in for the fetch. And shock from the looks of it. Goes to combat. We got a Kaito ninjutsu'd out on Ken's turn. So now Jordan is at 11. He zeroes to Surveil. Spin that, draw that. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. Galvanic Discharge. Targeting Kaito. Using 3 of it. On 4. I thought he was on 3. Anyway. Fable the Mirror Breaker gets Snapcastered counterspelled. Jordan plays the land and passes back over to Ken. 2 damage coming on from Ken's Snapcaster Mage. Into his spicy one of creature, the Kuja, Genome Sorcerer. So being Iron Step, you create a tapped 0/1 Black Wizard that has the Black Wizard text of whenever you cast a non-creature spell, deals 1 damage to each opponent. And if you create, or if you have 4 or more wizards, you can transform him. Don't know what the backside does. Couldn't remember it for the life of me. Never saw that in draft, never saw that in any of my draft pools of Final Fantasy, so couldn't tell you. But anyway, Ken passes back to Jordan. Jordan then draws and plays a Flage. Flage, ETB. So it's going to target that creature Kuja twice. He's going to play it from exile. He's going to, when he plays it originally, he's going to target the creature. Then it goes to the graveyard, and then he's going to cast it from exile and target the Kuja again. Should now be at 14, and then passes back over to Ken. And passes back over to Jordan. Jordan fetches. Goes down to 13. What is he searching for? He's going to get a Hallowed Fountain tapped. Jordan, once again, going through most of his library, just like with Snooch in his round 3. Game 1. Jordan then untaps and draws for turn. Goes to combat. Shoots the Snapcaster Mage. 1, 2, 3. Then can take 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Goes down to 9. Doesn't. Staying at 15, blocking with the 0-1. How does he get rid of Flage now? Without the Cling to Dust? Which he does still have in his exile, but can't get rid of it when it's on the battlefield. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan comes back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Goes down to 6. And Jordan goes up to 19. Passes back to Ken. Cling to Dust. Getting rid of Flame of Anor. And draws. How does he get through this one? Fetches. Looks like he fails to find. Fatal pushes the Flage. Flage goes to the graveyard. Untap, draw on Ken's turn. Cling to Dust the Flage. That's a good line. The Cling to Dust does so much work in this matchup. I don't know if it's 1 of or 2 of or whatever. Gains 2 life from the sounds of it. Goes up to 7. And plays a tomato. Gets rid of the tomato with a prismatic ending. Gains 3 life. So it should be 8. Plays a frog. Frog gets killed. And passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays land. Passes back over to Ken. And draws. Caster Mage. Turn. And passes back over to Jordan. Jordan is at 18. A lot of stuff happening this game, also not a whole lot. A lot of lands. Jordan Flame of Anor to draw 2 cards. Thundertrap Trainer. Thundertrap Trainer is countered off a Stern Scolding. And passes, or Jordan passes over to Ken. Ken plays a tomato and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan passes back over to Ken. Ken attacks. Ken plays a Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog gets spell snared. Ken passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays a Thundertrap Trainer, I assume with Offspring, and it looks like it resolves. Sack a clue. Resolves. All right, top 4. What's he going to get? Looks like he gets a Prismatic Ending. And then on the second one, he gets a Flame of Anor. Thundertrap Trainer is a wizard, so the Flame of Anor does get to have 2 choices made. And it looks like he is choosing to get rid of the Tameo. Ken goes to his turn and then passes right back over to Jordan. Jordan plays a Flage. Goes to 5. Recast. Ken's at 2. Jordan swings in. Ken, though, is able to cling to dust, getting rid of a creature in Jordan's exile. 1, 2. Be at 24 right now. Cling to dust does keep him at 5, and then he goes down to 3. Jordan almost had him dead on board. Ken bought himself a turn. Tameo coming down. Yeah, there it is. Jordan, I didn't realize I already had him pinged up a game, but that was game 1, and Jordan does go up to 1-0 in this best of 3 series. Going into game 2, we have Jordan up a game. I am surprised that Jordan won that. The deck does seem to be very resilient, but Cling to Dust does so much work, and when Ken is able to get that online and be able to constantly use it, it's a tough hurdle to get over. It feels very, very impossible for most cases, especially if you have the Flages in there or anything like that. I think Ken is upping on Graveyard Hate here and probably more. It's hard to say. I don't know their sideboards well. I'm not the pilot of their decks. We'll just see what happens as they play them. Sadly, my knowledge of Modern is not as good as most. I am just good at commentating for the most part. So let's see what happens here for sideboarding. We are going into game 2 with only just shy of 30 minutes on the clock, so they might have to play a little bit faster than they normally would. All right, and it looks like we are going into game 2, round 4. Last round, by the way. I don't know if I announced that. All of the Moderns that we play are capped at 4 rounds, no matter how many players we have. So for this round, we are in our last round, going into game 2 with Jordan up a game. Ken most likely taking the play here. Cutting each other's decks and drawing a fresh hand of 7 cards. Looks like Ken's keeping his hand. Same thing with Jordan. Ken's hand looks to be Counterspell, Frog, Land, Fetch. Jordan is not keeping that hand. Jordan hopefully getting a better hand to keep. We've got 2 fetches, a Thunder Trap Trainer, 2 Flames of Anor, and a Tune to Ether, I believe. He's keeping that hand of 6, bottoming a card that I did not see. Ken starts us off by playing a Scalding Tarn and then going to fetch. Fetch a Under City Sewers to Surveil. Jordan plays a Arid Mesa, and I assume passes back over to Ken. That is what caused the fetch. Ken looks at the top card. Looks to be a counterspell, I think. Keeps it on top, untaps, draws. It was not a counterspell, it was a Snapcaster Mage. Ken plays a basic swamp and then plays a frog. Jordan responds by fetching for an Arid Mesa, fetching with his Arid Mesa to get a Elegant Parlor, so that way he can surveil one. I think what he wants to see off the top here is probably some sort of hard removal. Decides to keep on top, draws that card. There it is. Prismatic Ending gets rid of the frog, and then Jordan passes over to Ken. Ken plays a Scalding Tarn and passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays a fetch land. He then goes to fetch. To go get a Thunder Trap Trainer, or to play a Thunder Trap Trainer from his hand. Jordan is now at 16. Ken goes to fetch. Does it enter untapped? Yes, from the looks of it, both of them at 16. Flame of Anors draws 2 cards, and Ken lets the Thunder Trap Trainer resolve, because he probably doesn't have anything in his hand. Jordan, now with the Thunder Trap Trainer, looks at the top 4 cards of his library and puts a Prismatic Ending into his hand, and then passes it back over to Ken. Ken plays a land untapped, going to 14. Plays a frog. Frog is on the battlefield. A frog-ebo on the field. Ken passes back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. We've got 2 Flame of Anors, a Flage, a Thunder Trap Trainer, a Brazen Borrower, and a Prismatic Ending in Jordan's hand. Ken's hand looks to be something. Looks like Jordan passes back to Ken. Ken attacks with the frog. And we've got a Flame of Anor. Flame of Anor gets counterspelled. And just dealing 1 damage to Jordan. No discarding, draws a card though. We've got a Frog in the Hand, we've got a Tameo, we've got a Snapcaster Mage, we've got an Orcish Bowmeister, and another card that I didn't see. Keeping up mana for the Orcish Bowmeister, but passes back over to Jordan. Jordan Prismatic ends the Frog. Frog gets hit. Combat. Blocks there with the 1/1. Deals 1 damage to the Thunder Trap Trainers because it has 2 toughness, and then blocks with the 1/1. Jordan goes out of combat, second main, gets a Flare of Denial with the second Thunder Trap Trainer that he resolves. Then passes over to Ken. Ken plays a fetch land. Then plays a tomato. Pass it back over to Jordan. Jordan draws another Flame of Nor. A lot of Flame of Nors in hand. 2 Snapcaster Mages and a Frog in Ken's hand. Flage resolves on Jordan's side of the battlefield. Deals 3 damage to the tomato. Goes to up to 18. Jordan counting his library. Counting his graveyard, pardon me. I think he's trying to see if he can Flage next turn. But it looks like he's passing back over to Ken, so Ken is going to fetch. Get a Thundering Fall, so that way he can Surveil. Keeps that on top. Untaps and draws. We've got a Fatal Push in hand now. Frog on the stack resolving. Passing back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. Jordan plays the Thunder Trap Trainer in his hand. Looks like it resolves. Looks at the top 4 cards of his library. Flame of Nor again. We got a lot of Flame of Nors in hand, eh? Yeah, Flame of... Oh, okay. Takes the Wrath of the Skies instead of the Flame of Nor. Then it looks like he passes back over to Ken. Ken draws for turn. Gets another tomato. Gives the Frog flying. Goes to combat. Trying to put it back into his hand. Looking to see if it resolves. Goes to hand, does resolve. Then we've got a Brazen Warrior going on an adventure. Second main, Frog is played. Flare Denial is played, sacrificing a Thunder Trap Trainer. So that way the Frog goes to the graveyard, and Ken plays a tomato. Passing back over to Jordan. Jordan draws for turn. Wrath of the Sky still in hand, as well as, I believe, 2 Flame of Nors. Jordan going to combat. Thunder Trap Trainer coming in for 1, blocked by the tomato. Wrath of the Skies. Holding priority, he is casting Tune to the Aether. So that way X can be 2. X is 2. Blows up the board. Ken's at 13, Jordan's at 13. Cling to Dust the Flay. Oh, no, sorry. My apologies. He's surgicaling the Flage. Tune the narrative. Yes, tune the narrative. What did I say? It's tuned to Aether, isn't it? Where the fuck did I get tuned to? Anyway, either way, plays the spell that draws a card and gets 2 energy for 1. That it has Tameo T-posing on it. Can surgical extraction the Flage. Looks like getting rid of 3 Flages? Snapcaster Mage getting the Flame of Anors as well with the Snapcaster Mage, Surgical Flashback getting the pardon me, the Flame of Norse. Ken passes over to Jordan. Jordan plays a Ghost Vacuum and a Fable, then passes back over to Ken. Ken attacks with the Snapcaster Mage and passes back to Jordan. Shatters the Ghost Vacuum and draws 2 with Flame of Nor because Snapcaster Mage is a wizard. Then pushes the Goblin. Now he passes back over to Jordan. Pardon me. Untap, discards a land to the Fable the Mirror Breaker, draws a land and plays that land. Coming in 4/4. Jordan is now at 11. 5 and draw 2 after casting the Brazen Borrower. Ken might have turned the corner here. We've got the Reflections of Kiki Jiki. And it looks like with the K command, it's going to tie up the game 1-1. Both Ken and Jordan up 1 game apiece. We are going into game 3. What a nail-biting game 3 that was, huh? Ken just turned the corner there with enough Snapcasters, and especially that end-of-game K command that got rid of the enchantment as well as whatever else the other thing you targeted was. That was a pretty good little play there from Ken. I hear a Garion in the store. So now, Jordan's running Regavans in that list? What the hell? Maybe he's sideboarding them in because now he's on the play. I did not see them in the original game there, and I did not see that when he was building his list. So it's a bit weird to see that, but I'm sure it's there for a good reason. Well, now that we're going into game 3, Jordan's, I assume, on the play. Life totals are now back up to 20. Fresh hands of 7 cards. Last game. Seems to be the last game of the night, too. It seems like the other games went... Oh, no. Okay, we still got Lucas and Zach playing. But we've got Ken and Jordan on top table right now. Like they are going to untap. They're going to draw their fresh hand of 7. That's what they're going to do. And Jordan decides to keep. Ken doesn't decide to keep. Goes down to 6. Jordan's hand looks to be Scalding Tarn, Arid Mesa, Hollowed Fountain, Flame of Anor, and a couple of cards that I cannot see. Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage times 2? 2 Snapcaster Mages and a Counterspell. That is a very interactive hand. Ken drawing a fresh hand. Looks to be Tomato lands, K command, Counterspell, Snapcaster Mage, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. Because I can't see what the other cards are. Does he want to keep this? From the looks of it, yes. All right, Ken is keeping that 6. All right, Jordan plays an Arid Mason, pass over to Ken. Ken draws for turn, plays a Polluted Delta, pass over to Jordan. Jordan on his end step. Jordan just fetching. Ken plays a Tomato. Jordan gets a Hallowed Fountain? No, that's a Meticulous Archive, isn't it? Meticulous Archive surveils one, keeps the card on top, draws the card. It was a basic island from the looks of it. Scalding Tarn comes down and he passes back over to Ken. Ken attacks and makes a clue and passes back. Jordan now fetching again. What is he going to be fetching for? Looks like he's getting a Thundering Falls. We have just passed the 10-minute mark for time left in the round. Surveils. Keeps the card on top. Draws it. Discards it for some reason? Oh, he puts it into the... Yeah. Instead, he decides to put it in the graveyard and then draws a Spell Snare. Plays a basic island, then passes back over to Ken. Ken fetches in Jordan's end step. Ken's at 16 since he fetched and shocked. Thundering Falls. Thundering Falls, he decides to surveil and keep on top. Ken goes to his turn and draws the card he kept on top. Plays a Polluted Delta, fetches down to 15. Goes to get a... What is he going to go get? Basic Island. Goes to combat. Gets a clue. 4 damage. Instead, he's actually going to Flame of Honor the Tomato. Is it going to happen? Like it does resolve. So instead, Ken just pass it back to Jordan. Jordan plays an Arid Mason, pass over to Ken. Ken on his end step, Ken on Jordan's end step plays a Bowmeister. Bowmeister, though, gets countered by the Spell Snare. And then Ken starts his turn. Plays the Sewers to surveil. Decides to bin a Tomato and pass back over to Jordan. Jordan fetches. What is Jordan going to be fetching for off this Arid Mesa? Looks like an Elegant Parlor. All right, let's see what happens off of the Surveil trigger. Jordan decides to keep it on top and go to his turn to draw the card he kept on top. Looks to be another counterspell. Jordan then shocks in a Hallowed Fountain and then pass over to Ken. Ken breaks the clue to draw a card on Jordan's end step and then goes to his turn. Plays a Thoughtseize. Reveals Jordan's hand. Snapcaster Mage, counterspell. 2 counterspell, 2 Snapcaster Mage in Jordan's hand off the Thoughtseize. Gets one of the counterspells. And then passes back over to Jordan. Jordan plays a Snapcaster Mage, only for it to get Stern Scoldinged, so countered if its toughness or power is 2 or less. Then can pass over to Jordan. Pretty good draw. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Gets counterspelled. Gets counterspelled. Counterspell for a counterspell. Resolves, makes a 2/2. Ken plays Kaito. Taps the 2/2, gets 2 stun counters, and then passes back over to Jordan. Now has 1 stun counter on it. Tune the narrative. Draws a card, gets 2 energy. On Jordan's turn. Now goes up to 2 without discarding anything. Plays a Thunder Trap Trainer. 4 cards. Flare Denials look to be grabbed. Flare Denial with Thunder Trap Trainer is pretty good. Passes turn, draws for turn Ken. Ken now has a 3/4 Ninja. Goes to combat. 3. Goes to 12. Goes up to 0, making, surveilling 2, and then because it dealt damage, he gets to draw a card. Bins one of those, draws one of those. Taps 3. But he's tapping 3 for. And it costs 3 in his hand. K command deals 2 damage to the Thunder Trap Trainer and then discard a card. Realistically, he decides to do it. Getting rid of that. Okay. Getting rid of the Flare Denial. Now I got 1 question mark card in hand. Plays a Dark Slick Shores, tapped and passes. Flare Denial off the top. We now have a flipped over Reflections of the Mirror Breaker. Or Reflections of Kikijiki, pardon me. He passes back over to Ken. Ken plays a Theater. Goes in for 3. Plays a Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Mage gets countered. Flare Denial gets counterspelled. 1, 2, 3. Goes down to 9. 0 to Surveil 2. How does he want to draw one of those cards? Looks to be a Baumeister and a Frog. I think Baumeister does more for him here, but I could be wrong. Let's draw the Baumeister. Passes back over to Jordan. Jordan untaps that 2/2 after having 2 stun counters on it put on there by Kaito. Draws a card. Goes to combat. 2 damage to Kaito. Baumeister comes down. Makes a treasure. Deals 1 damage to it and then blocks with the 1/1. It goes down. Alright, pass back over to Ken. Ken goes to combat with Kaito. 1, 2, 3. Goes down to 6. 0 again. Surveils 0. Surveil 2. Draws a card. Draws the Snapcaster Mage? Draws a Snapcaster Mage with a Frog in hand. Passes back over to Jordan. Plays a tapped land and passes back over to Ken. Plays Snapcaster Mage on his end step. Targets the K command. And it looks like that is going to be it. Jordan surrenders, gives up FFs to Ken after the Colligan's command Snapcaster Mage, knowing that he is dead on board. And that is going to be a clean 4-0 from Ken. Once again, keeping his raid boss status once more. What a back and forth 3 games that was. top marks go to Jordan there. That was some very excellent plays from Jordan, but Ken is just such a beast when it comes to this. With 1 minute left on the timer, well, 1 minute 30 left on the timer. Incredible gameplay from the both of them. Incredible gameplay from the both of them. Excellent sideboarding. Wonderful plays, but Ken takes it in the end. And that, my friends, is Thought Not Thursday. 4 rounds of modern gaming. Lots of frogs. Lots of cards that we still haven't seen from Final Fantasy hit the board other than Cecil's and Cujo that Ken is running. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here with these cards getting more and more play, but right now it seems like we still got a Modern Horizons 3 and Modern Horizons 2 play set of cards that are just rolling over our Modern here. But either way, thank you so much for tuning in to the Game Hub today. I'm going to put this back on mute, and Mike will most likely end up coming over here to wish us all farewell. But for now, my name is Bread. My name is Brendan. My name is whatever you want to call me. Brendan, I don't care. But that was Thought Not Thursday. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you so much for listening to me yap about Magic here, and I hope you all have a safe and wonderful Thursday afternoon. Take care.